Hey, Matt. Why is it doing that? I don't know. It says video not responding now. My computer's been acting up. I gotta bring it in to see if IT can fix it.
He's doing it on my phone.
I think I'm unmuted. I can't tell. Matt, can you hear me? I'm having trouble with my computer.
Evening, folks.
Oh, there it goes. I think. What's it doing? Just keep zooming. I don't know. Can't hear Matt.
Recording in progress.
It's giving me grief. Now there's a delay. I don't know. Matt, can you hear me? I can't hear you. And it's just, oh, it's awful. Yeah. No, look at. I don't know what's going on. I can't hear them at all. I want to log on.
Sounds like a disco.
Something funky's going on.
I just thought I heard something.
Is the ball going to drop from the ceiling soon? Maybe try your phone, Kath.
Yeah, can you not hear me?
We can now. No echo.
I don't think that echo was me, though.
Yeah. Christine, it looks like you have 2 sessions open. So I think that's what's giving us the echo there.
All right, let me try closing out. Did that work?
That seems to be better.
Yeah, that's better. Oh, maybe not.
Audio.
We're getting ready for season.
They got a lot of.
Is the date on?
I don't know, hon. Look, you figure it out. Well, then don't. Do I have audio or not? Charlene Glenski.
Matt, do you have the option to go mute everybody to start?
There you go.
All right, Tom, can you hear me now?
Matt's speaking. I can't hear him.
I
I
can't hear
cannot
him
hear
either.
you.
Yeah, I can't either.
Kathy, can you hear me? It's Christine.
Yes,
Okay, so Matt's the one that's not.
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Yay. All right, well, we'll get started here shortly. Tom's going to be a little bit late, he said.
Hey, I'm just gonna pay the bills.
Do we have any volunteers on the committee to take the minutes? Anyone?
I'll try it.
Kathy, you're good?
DJ,
Okay.
food catering.
Right.
Whatever else you can think would make it a really fun thing.
Okay. Well, why don't we jump on and kind of get started? We'll jump right in tonight. Let's see here, let me just share my screen here really quick too, so we can do this the right way. Can you guys see my screen by any chance?
Not yet.
How about now? Better?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, well, why don't we get started? Call it 6:33, kind of call it to order. So one of the things that I spoke with the select board, we did get a date that's they're going to set up for the public listening session. Hence, one of the reasons why we didn't do a kind of a public comment session on our meeting tonight was we're going to punt that to March 27th. Sounds like it's going to be at the elementary school, and there shall be a potential virtual option as well. It's going to be moderated by the town moderator, is the way that they're going to set this up. So I'll plan to be there in person on the 27th as well during the session. So all that folks that, wrote letters or they want to come, they want to speak, on their behalf of things, topics around the lake, they're going to be more than welcome to. Most likely there'll be a some sort of, probably kind of time limit for everybody, give everybody, 5 minutes or something like that to make their public comments, is kind of what the format sounds like for that meeting. So I think overall it should be pretty good. And I think it'll be good to get a just broader range of discussion. So as I get more information, as they finalize that piece of it, obviously it'll be posted on the calendar, and then we can obviously make it known to the folks that have written letters to us and everything else. So I'll be planning to do that. Okay.
Good.
Good there. The next thing I wanted to kind of bring up, just the next meeting dates. So March is kind of a crazy travel month for me. So I want to put out a couple of dates and see if these work for everybody. I know we typically don't do them back to back, but I didn't know if would be great to get a couple meetings in before that, even that public comment session. So I was looking at next week, 3/5 and 3/26, same time, 6:30. Any major objections, or do we have enough people to be able to get on those?
Any of those dates are fine with me. Matt, thank
Same.
you.
Good for me.
I have objection to the 5th.
Okay. Does anybody else have an objection to the 5th? Because I'd see if we can try to get these going. Anyone else?
No, I'm good with both of those.
So I'll ask the committee then, do we want to, Rhea, I know you can't make it. Do we still want to hold a meeting on education and then catch up afterwards? That's what the topics would be upon. They're not going to be of any other major items.
I'm not saying that I can't make it. I'm just objecting to it. We're meeting this week, and you're saying the 5th and the 26th as 2 days.
Yes.
So how about the 12th? Is that doable?
That's my problem. I'm out both weeks in March, like out of pocket where I can't even call in.
Mhm.
Any major reason why not the 5th?
It's Ash Wednesday.
Do we want to have a vote on what we want to do?
I mean, do we really need two, Matt? Can we just go with the 26th?
We can. It's going to put another whole month away, but if that's what we want to do, then so be it.
Can we
I
do
mean-
the 7th or something around the 5th?
I'll throw that out to the group here to decide.
I'm fine with that date too, Matt.
What about the
Sixth?
4th? So we can keep it midweek versus Friday night.
Or the 6th, the 4th or the 6th?
I'm good
I'm
for
fine with
either
any
of
of those
those.
dates.
4th, I'm booked. 6th, I could do.
I'm totally open. It doesn't matter.
6th,
6th,
Fine.
I'm on a plane. the
going
6th.
once, going twice.
Let's say I'm on a plane on the 6th.
Uh-oh.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah. 5 o'clock.
All right.
Flight, so
326 it is.
all right.
It's unfortunate, but we'll go with it. That's where we're gonna go. Okay. Moving on. The next thing that I just wanted to give everybody kind of a heads up on is I did reach out and I did talk with the local environmental police, who's responsible and covers Lake Wyola, kind of Turner's Falls, Connecticut River area. It's a new environmental police officer. I think he's been in this jurisdiction maybe a year, if that, somewhere in that range. Trevor Brucey is his name. Great individual. Looks like he'll be a great resource. He's open to having a dialogue, with me, and we can even invite him to something in the future if we need to. Had a good discussion with him. He was, discussion revolved around, they enforce the mass laws. They don't enforce bylaws. That was pretty loud and clear when I talked with him about that. So that was part of the conversation we had. But he's all for education, more of that, more promotion of safety on the lake. He's definitely a strong advocate that way. But I did want to let everybody know that was one of my action items, was to kind of establish that connection, which I did for the committee. So we'll have that as a resource in addition to Chief Burgess, from Shutesbury as well, obviously, of course.
Matt, what's
But-
his name again?
Trevor Brucey.
Brucey? Can you spell that?
Think it's Brusse. I don't have it in front of me here, but something like that.
I met him out walking on the lake. He was here one day during the week
Oh, nice.
checking fishing licenses.
There
Nice
you go.
guy, kind of a young guy, seems enthusiastic about the job, which is
Yep.
hopeful.
Yep. And he does have a boat. He does plan to, patrol from time to time. Sounds like, he has a, bigger area with I think he covers kind of the northern part of that Connecticut River, so call it, from the Turner's Falls Dam and up. So he has a pretty good body of water that he's on a regular basis, it sounds like, too.
Rhea, I took a picture of his business card. His name is Trevor, Trevor, Bresse.
I was close.
Close.
Thank you.
Sure.
No worries.
Matt, I was just curious, did you happen to ask if there's any other great ponds in Massachusetts? Asking this to Trevor, that has an actual on-site police boat that is there at the ready? Because I haven't
I
been
did
able to
not.
find, I
I
haven't been
didn't
able to
ask
find
that.
any other lakes or great ponds in all of Massachusetts that has a town dock or police boat. I don't know if anybody else has. I've been trying to find out.
I know his is a trailerable boat. He trailers it from where he goes.
Yeah, I'm just asking regards to Shutesbury's police department now, putting resources to setting up a boat on the lake, and curious if there's any other, examples of that in Massachusetts, and I can't find any.
I didn't ask that question, but it's something we could ask in the future for sure. Okay. All right, let's move on to, you guys ready to move on to the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of just put this this picture up here, and I'll blow this up so people can see a little bit better. These are the minutes that we still need to get on the town website. So there was a November 26th minutes. I think I can find those, and I'll send those to the town. I think everybody saw the December 11th minutes that Tom provided. And then there was also the next ones for the last meeting. I think it was January 29th, or what were the dates? Let me take a peek here. I have them here. You can look at them. So here's the December 11th, and then we have a 129. And I believe we already approved the last ones here. I thought we approved the January 8th ones in the last meeting. Without Tom here, I guess I'm not sure on where those stand. Anybody else know? No. Okay. Well, I'll follow up with Tom after the fact. The minutes that we do want to look at to approve tonight is the December 11th meeting. I mean, meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read those?
Yeah, I did, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah.
The one question that came up, I don't know if you guys saw the response from the chief
Big ass trailer.
on the January 29th meeting minutes.
Big ass trailer truck.
Who's
Down the barn.
Can you mute? It's Mike S.
who is it?
Mike S.
Yeah.
Non-video
That's
person.
us, Tim.
Thank you,
Got it.
Commute and Matt. Thank you.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't even realize.
Yeah, it's fine. No worries. Well, if we get him, we'll mute him. That's people. It's easy to forget that you're on
Yep, exactly.
you're on speaker. I understand. So, well, question that came up from the chief on the meeting minutes from the 29th. And I was looking at the minutes as well too, and I guess this is a question for the committee and how we want
Here's
to
my
do it.
guess.
The question is, how do we want to handle minutes going forward? Do we want to be doing kind of these transcript meeting minutes, or do we want to move to a summary meeting minute type of setup? I mean, some of the transcript stuff is nice, but then if everything isn't recorded specifically, then people are going to have heartburn that their quotes they didn't have the pre-quote, their during quote, and the after quote. So I'm of the fan of, I think we should just go to kind of like general minutes, and that's what the videos are for. People want to watch specific details and watch every last breath. I mean, for one, I thank Tom for doing that, but it's also going to take just a massive amount of time. And we're getting the minutes really late too. I like to see them sooner while the information in generality is fresh. So let's see, Mark, you raised your hand, so go ahead, and then I'll let Kathy start too.
I like the idea of more of a summarize. That way nothing is being quoted out of context. And tone can also be, implied when you're reading something versus actually listening to somebody speak. So I do, since we have the option to have people go back and review the video, I think it is a better idea to keep a general summary and then refer people back to the videos themselves, just so nothing's misconstrued.
Yeah, and I know that Tom is putting the link right in the minutes to the video too, which is convenient for people that want more. So Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say same thing. And I often wondered why minutes were so detailed when the video has everything you'd need at your fingertips. So I'm a fan of just a summary that captures the general ideas of the meeting, and then the reference, the link within the minutes to the recording is great.
Yeah, Dave.
Wish Tom was here for the discussion, but yeah, I emailed him. It's a lot of work what he's doing, and I basically sent him an example of what I would have done, and it was 3 sentences. So he was open to that, and I'm expecting that you'll see that change.
So,
Selfishly, that's what my minutes will look like if he doesn't hop on.
You don't need to be detailed in the minutes when you have a recording of the meeting that you can just reference to. If someone says something in the meeting that stirs a larger discussion, you would want to have that direct quote, but that's not what's happening here.
Right.
Gotcha. Rhea?
I'm going to ask, can we put up a gallery instead of having this form
Yeah.
here so we could see everybody we're talking to? And just
Absolutely.
attending other town meetings in Shutesbury, I have seen this before, the type of minutes that we're seeing here with Tom. So this isn't unusual. I mean, we have the agenda that you're doing, Matt, and then having the overview gives it, it makes it more accessible to have a transcript versus a YouTube video. So that's a question of accessibility for the town and for people to look at it. So that's why having the minutes as he wrote it is great. And then, of course, if people want to question any quotes, they can, as you say, go to the YouTube clip. But this is not unusual for Shutesbury to have minutes written like this.
No, I don't disagree. At the same time, though, I think that if you're going to do transcripts, they got to be verbatim, right? And if you're not going to write everything down, then it's not an accurate representation either, in my opinion.
Right.
So I don't need a transcript if I can watch a video. The way that I would phrase it. Mark, one more question. Go ahead.
Isn't AI doing a transcript for us already? That
Mhm.
was my understanding. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
So is there a way maybe to do the summary, and then if AI is already printing out a summary or a verbatim,
Even AI is a summary. It's not a transcript by any
okay,
means.
that's right. Okay.
So I think, we can table this to the next conversation when Tom is around, but I think I'd like to make a vote on how we want to do our minutes for the meeting going forward.
I do have another option. I mean, I do this all the time with audio. I'm recording this audio right now as I've recorded all the meetings, and it's very easy to put it into AI and get a total transcript. So that is an option. And I have a program that I do that with quite easily, a couple minutes. So if that's helpful for folks.
Good.
Because-
Send me the process, Rhea.
Well, it's a little paid program, but it's doable. And the thing about YouTube is it doesn't necessarily have captions. So that's the question about accessibility. And so by having something and then referencing to YouTube, you get, and YouTube will create its own caption, but that might not necessarily be true either. So
Yeah,
it's
so
an accessibility piece.
Yeah.
Some of us are able-bodied, we could see and all that, but not everybody can.
Yeah,
Good to know.
I think the idea of having multiple venues here. So having our summary of the minutes and then link to the AI transcript, so that there's a written, summary of everything, not summary, transcript, and then also the video, just so we're including everybody. But instead of having the picking and choosing quotes to put in the minutes, I think just put it all down as one transcript at the end of the minutes, or accompanying the minutes, I think would be a nice compromise to kind of cover all the bases.
Yeah, I think an accompaniment, because again, otherwise we're going to have to read. I mean, reading minutes that are 8 and 10 pages long is a little lengthy from the different committees I've been on in my past. I'm not used to that. I'm used to just minutes. So anyway, so the question is, we have to vote on the minutes from the 12. Let's get the dates right here. From the 12/11 meeting. Sounds like everybody read those. So why don't we can somebody make a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th?
So moved.
I'll
Who
second.
was that? Okay. Who was the first?
Me.
Sorry, I'm flipping between screens here. So why don't we do a roll call? Brassel,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Lehan?
So I'm sorry, I do need some clarification here. If we're not really happy with the minutes as they are written because of some of what is written being unclear, I guess I'm wondering how we approve them. Is that advisable? Like if there is quotes that say two people said something, should we be approving these minutes?
I think
I should have jumped in here on this beforehand, but.
So what we had is the chief had a question on the 129 minutes.
Mhm.
I think those are the ones that I think we need to go back and decide on if we're just gonna summarize those minutes to 12, 11 minutes. I mean, I propose we take those as they are. Because you have to go back even further to kind of fix those. I'd rather kind of fix the most recent ones. And then going forward, we'd kind of have a new modus operandi, so to speak.
Okay,
Well-
that's fair. I think the same problem was happening in the December 11th minutes as what was happening in this.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just wanted to clarify that. I am comfortable with not wasting the time and moving forward. That's fine. So I will say aye.
Okay. Remmel,
Aye.
Rivers,
Aye.
Salvador,
Aye.
Seifert not here. Rhea?
This is a vote for what exactly now? Because I'm a little confused what Amy brought up. So we're voting to approve the minutes from December 11th. Is that
Correct.
aye?
Thank you. And Baroic aye. So those minutes I can get those over to the town to get those pulled up. Okay. All right. Just take one second here. I'll pull up my other stuff in a second here. We can start talking about education.
Are we going to make a motion to pass the minutes from January 29th?
Well, I think those are the ones that, there was a discussion from the chief, and we just had our conversation that says we want to talk to Tom about possibly changing those to more of a summary version. So I think until we can talk with Tom and talk to that with the team and then make a motion on those.
Well, can we make a motion to pass those minutes and then moving forward, Kathy is making the minutes for this week? And we could see how that goes and then keep on moving forward so we don't kind of keep on rolling backwards. But
I mean, a motion can be made. I would object to those based on the fact that the chief did send in an email that she wanted to have things corrected. She wanted either full, she gave me a call, post the discussion or the email, and either wants exact quotes verbatim on everything or summary, one or the other, but not half quotes for her section.
That's fair.
Yeah, I
So
think we should wait just to be safe with the 29th minutes.
so then it sounds like somebody else is going to have to write up those minutes.
Possibly.
So is Kathy, are you going to be doing that? Because we've already had Tom do that. I don't think that's really fair to ask him to
Mhm.
do quite an extensive minutes here.
I'll do
I
it.
did send him an email and he seemed open to an adjustment. So that's the
I'll
feeling
do
I
it.
got from
He's not.
him.
Yeah, if he's not, I'll do it. It is a lot of work that he's already put in, so.
He put a lot of work into it. That's right. But I think he understands that, he doesn't have to do that much work.
And I can take a look too, Kathy, if I can see the summary. If I can get the AI summary, then I can help get that over to you as well too.
Okay.
Fair enough. Good points, Rhea. Thank you.
There's a hand raised.
Rob, do you have something? Or I want to move on to our education topics here pretty quick.
Understood, but quick question. Is it normal for a member of the public, and that is the role that Chief Burgess has here, to advise the committee on how to maintain notes?
She is actually I forgot what the name of it is,
Ad
but she's
hoc member.
Ad hoc.
ad hoc member to our committee. So yes, she does.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on to education topics. So one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and I want to kind of just start with this one. The main thing that we've talked a lot about is signage for the lake and what we would potentially want to have on a sign. And I want to kind of circulate that conversation around what do we think we want to have on a sign, or is that something we want to propose? I'd love to kind of just get that dialogue started with the committee. We have we have had discussion around, our existing bylaws. We've talked about, indicating counterclockwise rotation, a whole host of different things. Go ahead, Dave.
So I have not been down to the ramp in a long time. I know that LWA spent money on signs down there, and then LWAC spent money for signs down there. Or so, is there an issue with the signs at the boat ramp? Are you talking about additional signs to what's already there? I'm just wondering, what your thought is there, Matt. Have they been removed?
I think that they were removed. Now there's some small signage there, but reading those signs really doesn't give you a clear depiction of like, I think I can envision like a picture of the lake and showing like which direction boats go, where's the buffer zones for 150. Just having written words.
Just listing the bylaws, you think that's not good enough. You want to get bigger and better and brighter.
In my opinion,
Okay.
but I'm
all right.
open
I just
to
wanted to
what
get your understanding
guys
of
think.
that.
I mean, I think you want to make it really clear, and I think sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words.
And who's going to
versus
pay
just
for it if we do upgrades down there?
town? We have to
The town's
that'll
gonna
be one
pay
of our
for it.
recommendations to the town that
Okay.
we think you should have a sign that has these features on it, and it will have to hire a graphic designer to mock it up, and we could approve it and they could buy it.
Yeah, they
then
do
they
own the
could-
boat ramp, so that's a fair ask. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mark, go ahead.
So one of the things I think that would be really nice to have on there, and this gets a little tricky with cell reception not always being fantastic down there, but having a QR code that links directly to the state's, boating laws, because that's, our first bylaws, right, are basically citing the state laws, and that way people have access to them, just right there on their phone. I don't know. Does anybody know if any of the cell companies have reception down at the boat ramp?
I have AT&T across the lake that works great, but I don't know how it is at the boat ramp. Anyone?
Judy.
Judy had her hand up there. Let me just let her
Yeah.
go here next. Hey, Judy.
I don't know what the sign is down there at the boat ramp, but as far as having to have a cell phone when you get there, I don't know that everyone's going to be carrying a cell phone, for one thing. But one thing I would like to have down there and on the safety cards would be that power boats must stay 150 feet from swimmers. That's not on our current bylaw, and I would feel a lot safer swimming if I had that known that power boats must stay 150 feet away from the swimmers. So that I think is really important. It seems, and because it seems to be fuzzy on that, we need to educate people about about where the measurements are. I think that we also need to ask for buoys that are marking 150 feet and spots when we put in the requests.
Well, I have a couple questions on that one.
Okay.
The 150 feet from swimmers, so the 150 buffer ring that we have that depicts headway speed isn't the law? Or isn't that our bylaw that we're designating that
exactly right.
as the
No.
swimmer?
And I didn't know that either until I became a member of this committee and I started doing research. And the research showed me that the power boats need to be 150 foot from a swimmer. If I'm swimming at 50 feet, the boat needs to be out 200 feet. If I'm swimming at 150 feet, the boat needs to be 150 feet away from me. That's the state law.
Yeah,
Go ahead, I'll let Rhea. Go ahead. I'll go in order. I'll go Rhea first. Can't hear you.
Thanks, Matt. I don't mind going back to that question of what Judy was just talking about, but I was just going to, on the signage, QR codes are a little dangerous because you could pop malware on it. So with an area that's not really protected, I wouldn't advise doing that. Lots of risks with malware and other fake things. Anybody could put up a QR code over the QR code and direct
a good
We could
everybody.
always just we could always just list the webpage too. So good point.
Yeah, maybe that's a better option.
Yeah, Massachusetts.gov, easy.
Yeah, but just going back to what Judy says, it sounds like we won't have any room on the lake to do anything. If somebody is like out on a boat, swimming from a boat, you know, as I often do in the middle of the lake, does that mean that I should
No,
have 150 feet from me, or?
I don't, now that I'm not.
Yeah, you're getting a lot
clear
of, I
about-
think there's a lot of gray area here in this
You
whole
need to have a boat.
150 feet.
If you're out in the middle of the lake, you need to have a boat near you, and we should recommend that swimmers wear one of those floaty, colorful things anyway.
I think that's a great point. I think one of the things we can do on our signage and in our education is what are our recommendations above and beyond what our bylaws are?
Right.
That's a good
And
point.
that would be really a lot better. It's hard to see people when they're swimming. I always feel very vulnerable out there. And especially because the boats don't really know where 150 feet is. You know, we have a raft at 70 feet, and I've had people that have threatened to run me over because they thought it was out more than 150 feet. So it's really, really not clear. And because the shoreline moves in and out all the way around, that's also a problem. And then you have the wake boats. And I've been reading up on wake boats, and they throw 4 times more energy than a regular power boat. And their recommendation for environmentally and for other boats would be 500 feet away from the shoreline. And really, they should have 20 feet of water to keep from wrecking the nesting fish and the birds and all the other wildlife.
Christine, I
So
think you had your
yeah, it's
hand
a
up.
small lake. It's hard
Sure.
to try to figure that out for everyone.
Sure.
Hi. I did print out a lot of this stuff, Judy. Thank you, by the way. And your 150 feet is absolutely correct from the shore to up 150. And that's where swimmers are allowed to swim. Anything past the 150, you are correct. You need to have a boat with you or some, vessel with a kayak or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But 150 feet from shore is the actual swimming area, and that is what's defined. So it wouldn't be 150 feet if you're 50 feet out. It would be the 150 from shore to 150. And I just looked it up again.
So it would be 300 feet then?
No, ma'am.
No.
It would be 150 feet for you have to be 150 feet away from a swimming area. The swimming area on the lake is the first 150 feet from shore.
Right.
So it would be 150 feet. The other thing that I had asked, and I'd like to bring that up again, is talking to Lake Wyola Association. They put those buoys and things out. I think, my guess would be to have something to really be able to have a visual for people that are boating.
Yeah.
No one intends to do anything that's illegal or to hurt anybody. That's just, but common sense isn't common. So,
Well,
I
and
think
it's
if
really,
you had the
it's
buoy, I
really,
think it'll help visually see things, which
Yeah.
is a big, huge benefit for you.
and it is really hard to judge the distance from the shoreline to the boats.
Yeah, and I think most boaters, if they do the safety and they take the course that they're required to take, they should be educated. Well, they better be educated if they're taking the course to know that that is something that's critical when you are
Yeah.
boating.
I know, but like even at this meeting, it seems as though a lot of us didn't even know that boats were supposed to be 150 feet from a swimmer.
Oddly enough, I mean, I read the laws, I've read the rules, so, you know, and again, now we're talking about education again. You're absolutely
Yeah.
correct. So it's an education piece that we can provide. We can do that through the boat ramp. We can do that through housing. Everyone gets a notice at a house so that people are aware of it and so that they are aware of the concerns, and hopefully
Well-
it'll get home and you'll have a more comfort feeling, especially if we can put some buoys out just to get to, like when you're driving a car, for example, when I was years ago going to driving school, they used to say the distance between the car in front of you and you, use telephone poles. My kids went to driving school. They didn't know that. I said, it
Yeah.
should be a telephone length between. That is a trigger point because I can't tell what 3 feet is or 3 yards. I really
Mhm.
can't visually see that. That's a depth perception. So if you can give people targets, I think that would make things a lot better for you, or any swimmer for that matter, to have that visual 150 feet from shore.
But
So
they
I
also
think
should
there's a-
know if we don't even have it on our own bylaws that power boats
technically it is,
should
Judy,
stay
because that
away
is-
from, no, it's not on our bylaws.
it is because that's a law for it's a law, it's a state law.
Well,
And
it
it
is,
specifically
but a
gives the
lot of people
caveat of the
don't
state law
know it.
with a lot of
People-
different things in there, and it's a matter of educating people of what they say. You're gonna
Okay,
be
but it
behind
would be
the eight
really
ball.
nice to have that on our bylaws because a lot of people don't know it. And it isn't on the safety cards. And I think that, you know, and that's even the safety
I think the
cards
safety
only
card should be-
go, right, excuse me, they only go to the people that live around the lake. So I think that, you know, a mailer and it should be on this, our safety cards, but it also should be mailed out to the town.
Yeah,
So
we
at
could- that would
least
be a good
they know.
suggestion. Just to know, you know, education is key, and you are absolutely right. I think we're all in agreement of that. And, you know, when they carte blanche say, look at the state laws, that, you know, to list everything out. And again, I hate saying it, but common sense is not common. So the bylaw does state you have to go by mass law. But I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to give more people insight of what those state laws are, so that there is no question.
Well, I would like there not to be any question that when I'm swimming at 150 feet, boats need to be 150 feet away from me.
Well,
How
they
about
can only
that are
be
going
130
miles.
Keep in mind the way, I think it's a little twist the way it's being said. It's 150 feet from shore is your
No,
swimming
no,
area.
swimming area
you're-
is 150 feet from shore. Power
It's 100
boats must stay 150 foot from a swimmer.
No, ma'am, it's the swimming
No,
area.
that's not true.
I'm online right now.
Well, you know, I've
I'm-
read it. I have them. That's where I got this from.
Well, I'm looking at the law.
Well,
I don't know
so
where
you
you're
think
getting it.
it's okay for a power boat to go like inches away from me while I'm swimming at 150 feet? And
Why
that
don't-
isn't the state law anyway. I looked up the state law and it
Massachusetts, the
says,
state law is illegal operating a motorboat within 150 feet of a swimming area is not accepted.
okay, and there's
Public and
another
private
one where
shorelines
I'll
within
have to look
75
it
feet
up.
of a swimming.
Okay, okay.
There
Only
are
one
a
person
few
talking at a time, please.
places- There are a few places that say that more definition is about the law and the footage, and that is on there.
I'm reading it and it seems very black and white. So 150 feet.
You're
you want-
reading one thing, yes, and
Well,
that,
that's the MGL. So that.
I'm gonna
would
let
be-
Mark chime in. Let's just
Okay.
take a pause on this one for a second. Take a pause,
So
take a pause.
Couple things. One, I mean, I think that with all laws and whatnot, there's room for interpretation, and that's why people go to law school. And it's a shame that they are not more consistent and obvious. I don't think that it is the best use of this committee's time to nitpick every.
I'm not
single-
nitpicking. I don't feel that I'm nitpicking,
and
that
Okay,
it's
let's let one
very
person finish their
clear
thought, please.
in the state.
Judy, I need to let
voting
Mark
law.
finish his thought,
Yeah.
please. You've had the
So-
floor for a while. Let Mark
Well, I
finish,
don't
please.
like being called a nitpicker.
I'm not meaning that specifically. What I'm trying to say here is that I think this committee's time is more valuably spent on broader topics. When it comes to the actual, um, you know, definition, how this rule is being enforced, that is going to be for, the police to be able to say this is what it is. That's their job. I would think that for us, it is better to focus on, again, how are we going to get people educated? How are we going to improve things on a general scale? I think it's more productive use of our time. So I would like to propose a couple things to potentially do that. One would be maybe that we need to look at some specific Massachusetts laws that we would like to include on the board and on whatever we're posting. Ones that we feel are not well known as a way of educating people. Another thing that I think would be great to do, you're right, the visualization of what 150 feet is challenging. And we have, in the past, we put the buoys at the association beaches as references. If we don't feel like those are doing the job, maybe we need to move them to where the boat ramp is so that we have a buoy out 75 feet from the boat ramp and saying this is 75 feet with signage indicating what that is. And then another one at 150 feet. So everybody putting their boat into the water has this visual representation. So there is no excuse that you do not know what that 150 feet is. I think that would be a nice way to help educate people and provide some assistance so that the rules are easier to follow. Because again, if you don't understand where that 150 feet is, you may think that you are staying that 150 feet away. But if your 150 is only 75, then it doesn't do anybody any good. So I think that we should work on things like that can help educate people to improve safety and put our time more towards those larger, more broader topics if possible.
Thanks, Mark. Why don't we go over to Amy? You haven't had a chance to speak.
Thank you. Rather than continuing this topic of education, sort of what feels like a little bit unguided, I'm wondering if we can go back, if it's easy enough for you to pull up some of our notes from the first few meetings, Matt, because when we were going through each of the bylaws, I remember you were taking notes on specific education ideas that we had talked about in a very methodical way. I seem to remember that happening and that we were going to revisit that later on. Is that something that you could pull up and we could sort of review rather than rehashing things that we've already talked about?
I can. I was going to gallery mode. Sorry. This is what I had for one of our topics was around the signage. And here are the things that we discussed as a group of kind of key things that we wanted to have on the signage, and also where we could potentially put the signage, and then kind of have some discussions. And I think the couple key things that were in relation to our bylaws was one for everybody that's coming into the lake to understand that we go in a counterclockwise direction here. It's not very uncommon that people who put their boats in end up going the wrong way around the lake, or they zigzag around the lake. So I think that's probably safety primary number one for me, is making sure people know which way to go around our lake. The second was, again, to the discussions we've been having here, the 150 buffer ring that designates headway speed, and it's the swimming area, and kind of giving that. If you pictured, I think we had one of our videos or one of our conversations, we had a picture of the lake. We had this kind of like arbitrary 150-foot line that was going around the circumference of the lake with the undulations of the shorelines at the same time. And the thing that we talked about from a reference point, kind of to Mark's point a minute ago, is could we get with the Lake Wyola Association and have those public beaches, or the Lake Wyola Association beaches, have a buoy at 150 feet so that people actually know what that is on 3 points of the lake anyway, right? We have the northeast and west beaches. Those are places that we could get buoys out in the water for visual representation. We also discussed asking the state beach, where are they setting their buoy lengths from the public beach? I don't know if they're at 150 feet. That's something that we'd have to do some research, and I have to follow up with the DCR and ask them where they're putting them and if they would be willing to put them at a certain length for us. That's a question. And then we talked a little bit about the signage of where we would want to put signs. We talked about the boat ramp. We talked about the state beach as a place to put a large sign about what the lake rules are. We do get the random swimmer that comes off from the public beach and just decides that, hey, I want to go swim out in the middle. And they don't have any buoys, they have no vessel, they have no nothing. And that's probably one of the biggest safety concerns I see on the lake. Because if you're a motorboater and you're going at 250 feet away and you're, cruising around the lake and you're pulling a skier or a tuber or whatever you may be doing, seeing a bobbing head in the middle of the lake is a very difficult thing to see no matter what. So that's something I think that educating the folks there and kind of ensuring that they don't just drift off the beach and just go start swimming everywhere is a big deal. Then we also talked about putting one at the Lake Wyola Association Hall as well. Again, as members come in, and nice reiteration of what the rules are and what the laws are on the lake. There's a couple ideas. Is that helpful, Amy? I'll just let you kind of chime in on that. If there's something else that you saw in this specific topic that you thought was relevant.
Thank you, Matt. No, I think that's a really good recap, so that we don't rehash everything. The one thing I would like to add, though, as far as location for signage is coming off of the dam. Even though that's not a designated swimming area, that is a very common place for people to come into our lake and then swim from. And they often go very far out from that spot.
That they weren't even supposed to be on the dam, but that's
They're
besides the
not,
point.
but it is a reality.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
that's already. I'm not sure we want to put signs where it kind of include, hey,
Yeah.
break the
Do
law,
not
come
swim
down to
here.
the dam and still jump in. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know how to
But-
navigate that, but it is a
Me
reality.
neither, but I know you are correct though.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people there.
Yeah.
I'll let a few folks chime in here. Rhea, go ahead.
Am I on? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
A couple things. One is it's not necessarily people that I see coming onto the lake. I see people on the lake going directly across the lake. And I've seen that on a number of occasions, just going, you take the point A to B and you go directly across. So I've seen that quite a bit of time. And I want to be cautious on saying that it's outsiders versus insiders, because it is a great pond. It's owned by everybody. It's public access for everyone. And it's not anyone owns the lake. It's everybody's lake. And so we
Yeah, of
want
course.
to be careful on wording with that. Folks do have the right to use the lake in all the different spots. I'm really concerned about having buoys everywhere, just kind of making that more of a hazard, as that water skiing ramp, or not the ramp, but the buoys that were out there for quite a while, a few years back. And I think what we're seeing here is a little bit of us kind of pushing the bylaws through, when we actually said, Matt, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, because when we were going through the bylaws originally, we had said, well, we're going to go back and talk about this, but we never had that option because there was a motion to pass the bylaws without actually ever discussing it, which is part of the concern here. I'm kind of confused at this point, having even taken the safety course. Where is that length of 150? We have
Yeah.
the buoy out there, let's say at the state beach, let's say that's 150 there, that end buoy. Do boats now need to be 150 feet away from that buoy at the state beach? Or if there's buoys at the different not town, but the Lake Wyola Association beaches, a buoy 150 feet out, how close can a boat go to that buoy? I think that's what Judy is getting at, and I think it's a good question. And I don't want to bypass. I'm not really sure what the rush is to like push this through as if we're in a hurry here, because safety is so important. It's so critical.
Mhm.
And to just the education of it is critical too. And to have these discussions, I'm not sure if is anybody in a rush to get this done at a certain time? And am I missing
Well-
something there, that we have a deadline other than referring to the select board? But is there a rush that we have to have it done at you know, a specific day? Because I'd like to know that date, well, that we don't have time to discuss some key topics here.
I think, I would love to get some recommendations back to the select board, within another month or so. Because if we do want to add signage or we wanted to put something in place for the spring season coming into this year, and we want to make an educational difference, I think there is some sense of urgency, quite honestly. If we want to get signage, we want to put out new safety cards, could be mailers out to the town, could be a host of different things on the education front. To me, that's something we can actually do as a committee and get things in motion now versus waiting another year. That's my opinion. Kathy, you've had your hand up for a while.
I think the urgency at first was that we were thinking if we were going to be making a change, it would have to be ready for the annual town meeting. And now I think, given that there's so much interest in reviewing the bylaws, that in my opinion, it would make more sense for this year to do some really intense education and press the police, both the local police and the environmental police, to enforce what we have currently, and recommend that to the select board, and then take a longer period of time. I know our directive was initially, if I'm remembering right, 8 months worth of work. But
Yep.
if we could do that for this year, and by a longer period of time during which we could gather more data, which I think we're lacking, so that if we get to the point where where the bylaws need review or change, we have more information and we've heard from more people to make appropriate changes, because it's a big deal to change bylaws. I think the more urgent need is the education and enforcement, as we've kind of said over and over again. And I think we can make an impact, excuse me, an impact this year, looking at that, keeping in mind the concerns that Judy has raised, and I think Jen has raised as well. And on that point, couple of things. I think it would be interesting for us to look at that map that Tom Seifert put together one time at the very beginning of our meetings, that kind of showed the lake and showed, I had never seen it laid out that way, but it had some distances on it. It was a great visual, and I don't know if that would help inform the discussion about the swimming areas and the distances and all of that. I think it might be helpful for us to look at that. Maybe, I don't know if we have time today, but maybe at our next meeting.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all.
And then
I think
maybe
those are
one
all-
last little thing, because we
Go
were
ahead.
on
Yeah, take your
signage.
time.
We were on signage, and I made a note. If people who have rafts would be willing, that would be an interesting spot if maybe LWA could manage confirming the distances. But if a small sign with just 70 feet or 75 feet on a raft, that would be an additional visual for people, for boaters, for swimmers, for everybody going by and going around the lake to use.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good comments. Judy?
Well, I just wanted to say that from what I understand, the state beaches and our beaches are marked at 75 feet. And that's what we have on our bylaws, current bylaws. That the buoys are at 75 feet.
Mark, do you know what LWA has done in the past? Are they measuring these, or what more do you know about that?
The buoys that marked the lateral borders of the swim zone were measured to be 75 feet from shore. There's small buoys along the rope and then a bigger buoy out at the end. That big buoy is supposed to be 75 feet, barring somebody having changed the length somehow, whether if it's cut and shortened or, people add to it. I don't know. I haven't inspected them in years. And then the swim zone buoy, that is the single tall buoy out in front past the raft, is supposed to be at 150 feet. back when I was installing them, we were actually measuring that 150 feet from the shoreline. But again, we talked about this before. I don't know who's verifying that anymore. I mean, it seems it's a community effort to put them out. The lateral markers should be 75 unless somebody has actually physically altered them. But the 150 could be eyeballed by people for all I know. So that would need to
Yeah.
be verified what that actual distance is. But that was the intent, that was 150 feet.
Yeah, it's my understanding that those are put in by volunteers, so I don't know who's doing them nowadays or how they're getting put out there. I know I've been out there in the past before, and I think it's been more the eyeball than it's been a very specific measurement. You know, I mean, you got to get a tape out there and do that type of work. So, Dave, go ahead. You're on mute,
Muted,
Dave.
Dave.
Just dovetail on that, my neighbor Walter Tirati and then the Pages across the street put the raft and the buoy out every year. And I know Walter, he measures it. He puts the big buoy out to 150.
He measures it out.
They do. I watched him
That's
do
great.
it.
Okay, great.
So, but that's just them. I'm just saying. But that's kind of how it's done now. So there's no official process anymore, Matt.
And how
Okay.
how close can a boat come to that buoy? Which kind of goes back to Judy's original question.
At this point, from what I hear, I'm not too sure. I hear it can come right to it and skim right by it, or it needs to be 150 feet away. I don't know the answer to that.
I think this is where we need to, if we can get the environmental police officer to come on out and clarify this stuff, we can go back and forth about it all day, but the reality is none of us is the expert. And I think we do need that outside advice on how they are interpreting the laws that they are enforcing. So Matt, again, if we can possibly get him on one of these meetings, or maybe we generate a list of questions to submit.
I think that's probably the best thing to do is if we come up, and I got this one written down, obviously already to kind of get some more clarity and clarification.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear from the police official versus, again, we can all read and interpret things a lot of different ways. So I think it's best to try to get that from them. Kathy, you had your hand up there. There you go. Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I did, and I lost my train of thought, so go ahead with the others who have their hands up. Sorry.
Rhea, anyone else? Okay.
Jennifer has her hand up.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to make sure that our committee had the first opportunity. We've had a lot of, commentary in the past, but we are running up against the hour too. I don't know. What do you think, Dave? Do you want to keep going or do you want to call it for today?
Don't see any reason why we need to continue the discussion any further if we have a meeting on the 26th. I mean, you do have two people with their hand up.
Yeah.
Give them a shot and then we should call it, right?
Yeah, give him a shot.
Okay, I'll do it, but I'll try to truncate it to
But I
like
got to keep it
7:35.
quick because I've got another meeting to go into. No offense to
I know.
anyone. I'm
I
sorry.
appreciate that.
Is
Go ahead,
he-
Jennifer, please.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that the state law is confusing for the following reason. They've divided the distance rules into two places. So I'll bring your attention to, there's one place where it's called safe speed and distance regulations. This is the one that was referred to about 150 feet from shorelines and 75 feet from floats and markers. There's another whole section called headway speed. It's a different section of the state law. And in headway speed, it says 150 feet from a swimmer. Clearly, I'm reading it right here under headway speed. It says 150 feet from a marina, ramp, raft, or float. It's under the section called headway speed. And there's another one that says headway speed when within 150 to 300 feet of shorelines used as swimming areas. So we need, I mean, you guys are on the committee, you're talking about how to educate. If you're trying to highlight different parts of the state law, those things, people on the lake don't know them, even though they're in the state law. So I'm just bringing your attention. There are two sections. One is called safe speed and distance, and the other is called headway speed. And check it out. And you're going
That's
to see
great.
those details. So thank you for giving me time. I'm not even on the committee, but I
No,
thought it was a point of clarification that was important.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Those are that I'll bring that up when I get a chance to, when we get a list for the folks with the EP, I can ask that question and see if they've had any other experience. Cause I'd be really curious on how they do that on the river. If you think about our lake as a giant oval and it has a lot of distance between, across the lake, when you go in the river, it's narrow. I mean, there's sections of the river that's 150 feet. There's a swimmer, then that means you can't have a boat. And we all know that that's not the case, right? So I don't know, so I think these laws somewhat contradict one another. And I think there's a lot of gray area, and I think it's all around, I've also seen other bylaws. I've seen other recommendations for other lakes where they put, whatever's not reckless, right? I mean, they have different kinds of terminology that they put in as recommendations to like at acceptable safe distances within the lake. Or I've seen other terminology and I'll look some of that up. I have a bunch of it written down, and I'll see if I can bring that next meeting, because that might be a way to emphasize that on our signage as well too. Mark, go ahead.
Just because we are now at 7:32 and I know Dave has another meeting to go to, so I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Well, we had another public person with their hand up. Can we just give them, I thought we told them we're giving them a chance.
Out of respect for Dave, I wanted to at least, throw that out there because I know he said he had to get into another.
Rob, do you have a 2-minute or do you got a 10-minute?
Less than 2 minutes.
Go for it.
First, thanks to Jennifer for pointing out the two different laws. Secondly, I'm a kayaker. I'm in favor of putting out buoys at 150 feet. But if you do that, you may be creating a zone that is 75 feet or 150 feet extended from that, where only headway speed is allowed. So it may be one of these cases where damned if you do, damned if you don't. So
That's fair enough.
That.
And at the end of the day, we want everyone to be safe around this lake.
The other thing you said is, what about a river? You said you can't have a boat. That's not true. You have to make headway speed only.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll just leave one thing, then we'll see if someone wants to second Mark's motion. I think one of the biggest things.
Thank you.
You're good. You're welcome. Thanks, Rob. One of the biggest things I think we need to do too is, we have a Lake Wyola Association as well too. We don't want to forget about that. A lot of this is, we need to talk as a community too of what's smart for our lake. And we have lots of laws and we can read lots of different interpretations, but there's a lot of things that we can do with just, camaraderie and harmony of our own lake folk. I know even the water skiers, they have a unwritten rule that they don't go out until 8 a.m. and they technically could be out at sunrise. So, there's things that we can do as a community that are just respectful with one another. And I think more of that conversation is something I'd like to just talk more about as education. Like, for example, if I'm going to be out and I'm going to water ski at 8 a.m. and I see Jen's going out swimming and she has her float and she's going to go out swimming at the same time when we all want this calm water because, it's the best time to be out. Well, for me personally, if I see Jen's going out, I'm like, hey, Jen's out. Let's keep an eye open for her. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of it that's around just cordiality of knowing our friends and family around the lake and saying, hey, and if we know that, hey, Jen's going to swim every day at 8 a.m. and I'm going to be out there at 8 a.m., I'm going to be looking for Jen because I care about people. And I think that's something I think we've lost a little bit of guidance on in this committee, or just in generality, a lot of people talking. Let's talk about just being social with one another and understand what other people's likes are, what they're doing, or when they want to go. Or is there like, hey, there's going to be a kayak club that's going to go out at 2:00 on Saturdays. Let's all keep an eye out for them because there's going to be 3-4 of them that want to go out together, and we know they're going to be out there. Let's watch out for them. Let's watch each other's back, and let's get less around all this. Let's get down to black and white. To me, I love the lake community. I love the people around the lake, and I want people to be safe at all times. And that's people that are visiting the lake, people that live at the lake. I don't care who they are. And I'd love to see us kind of think more about us as an overall group in a you know, community, including the broader community, the people that come to Lake and, you know, come and enjoy this beautiful resource we have. And I'm kind of at that point where I really want to see more of that and less of the, you do this, I do that. It's like, no, I want everyone to be safe. And that's the stuff I want to get across. And if we can put stuff on education and recommendations that talk about that, that's what I'm for. And I'm going to leave it with that for tonight. And I'd love to talk more about that when we come back on the 26th.
Thank you,
Fair
Mr.
enough.
Chairman. Save that speech for March 26th.
Motion.
I'm going to second that motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, let me go down the roll call here and we'll get that locked down. So Brasil,
Brassel, aye.
Brazel,
Everybody
Green,
pronounce it right.
Aye.
Brassel.
Lehan,
Aye.
Rebel,
Aye.
Rivers,
Aye.
Salvador,
Aye.
Seifert, not here, Windcaller,
Aye.
and Matt, aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks all.
Bye.